Okay. Bula bula everyone. Hey, thank you for logging in. Yeah, my computer too is having a wonderful time, but Vinaka vakalevu for joining in, wherever you're logging in from. Yes, ni bula Vinaka vakalevu na sama tiko mai na programa ni ko. Babi ni Vinaka tiko ya berto na mate sere langat sikina na serengo tumbuna besayaki Katarina Turanga Kavivi. Babi ni Vinaka berto na toki studio. E na nono to takabata ke Manurei Loa ke Etonia Lote Junior. Totoko bako o tina serea, we mamina tika ni goi balangi, andora kani mamindo baka na nanu yani baka levu ibiti, e na rongo binaka ni sere. Totoko bako o tina, do baka bulu turu baka na nanu, unitaka ni unitali taka na rongo adana sere totoko ya. Binaka baka levu sara na sema chukumai, e na siga binaka ni kua, baka bulu chuka ni bikim ni kena sara, sa oti chukungona walu, e na tinka walu na miniti, mai biti, e na katinka vio ni singa, ni bulo machi. Ana buli keli na mbaki rono ndolu rosanga bulu karua. Unitaka ni rongo benaka chuka ni na beo liba ni be tala nongo na tala no Dr. T. Baka bulu sar chuka ni ngoi Hawaii bikim ni kete sara. Na bula da bangau ni sema chuka mikina ni mbula benaka. Baka tolo sa katiko na bendial ni abu tambu kete sara na tobu no mebiti na tin kaban na no de sana to doko na buno biti wili kina ayani anu totoko rotuma. Unitaka ni I rongo tiko yani na betal nongo na nomni ndui lomni bale sa langwal chuka ni kina na bakambula ka kena bakanu ni binaka ni ndona talanoa momona talano rongo binaka na rongo da chuka ni sin binaka ni kuwa anda babi ni binaka ni rto satu sartu ngangona no to marama bulangi erto suriti mai merto mai talano weekend na sin binaka ni kuwa anda bakambula sarchungo berto ndona marama ngo Dr. Elise Huffer siamo sarchungo mai Pacific Haba ni sambula binaka Dr. Elise.
Ni sambula binaka Dr. Tarisi.
Vinaka. Vinaka. The bambula talaga of Elizabeth Edwards. Bula binaka kai.
Bula binaka Dr. Tarisi and bula binaka to all the listeners in Fiji and all throughout the world.
Vinaka. Vinaka vakalevu Liz. Chungo tangwala sarai sasabara. Na marama ni buna moli andi Meretui Ratunabuabua lalu binatau I think we can good we can hear you. Yeah, go for it, Tau.
I can hear you.
Okay, it's good to hear your voice. How are you, Tau?
I'm turn the videos now.
Yes. Vinaka, thank you so much for logging in. I hope your internet will come through so we can hear you.
Hang out.
Yeah.
We'll keep trying.
Okay. Oh, Vinaka, good to hear your voice. And thank you again for agreeing to join us today. Vinaka vakalevu Sara. Thank you so much. So now we're going to go around our room of Talanoa. We'll go to Pacific Haba and say bula to Dr. Elise Huffer. Oh, there she is. We can see her. Hola, Tau. Okay, so the internet in Nandi is coming through. So I'm sure something will work out so we can be able to hear your story. Yeah, okay. Vinaka vakalevu. So we'll start first with Dr. Elise Huffer. If you can just introduce yourself to us, Dr. Elise, just a little bit about your background and your upbringing and the role that you play in Fiji today. Vinaka, Dr. Elise.
Okay, Vinaka, Dr. Tarisi. So my name is Elise Huffer. My background is I was born in New York City, grew up in Paris, and I made my way to the Pacific in 1985. And so in 1985, I just happened to be at the Festival of Pacific Arts, which was moved to Tahiti. So that was my first Festival of Pacific Arts. And at the time, if you had told me that some 20 years later or 30 years later, I would be actually organizing one of the festivals, I would have told you you're crazy. But that's what ended up happening. So yeah, so I grew up basically in the city. I was a city girl, but I preferred to be by the ocean and in the forest, and so that's I guess in a way that's how I made my way here, and also through rugby. My husband's a rugby coach. I played rugby for many years, and as we know, Fiji is the land of rugby. So that's another reason why I moved to Fiji.
Wow,
Thank you.
Vinaka vakalevu, Dr. Elise. Yes, it's lovely to have you in Fiji. And as you said, who would have thought that your trip to Tahiti would be the stepping stone to actually make the Pacific your home?
Mm.
Yes. And you enjoying your stay in the Pacific and in Fiji, Elise?
Well, yes. I mean, I'm a Fiji citizen now, so I have been for a few years. So basically, for me, Fiji is my home. I spent 3 weeks in Fiji, and I really thought to myself, this is a place I want to come back to, and so that really happened through further studies. I did a PhD and did a lot of my research at the University of the South Pacific in Fiji, not on culture, on political science, but the foreign policies of Fiji, Tonga, and Vanuatu. So although I was based in New Caledonia, and then came back in '97 and started working at the university.
Wow, that's amazing. Vinaka vakalevu, Dr. Elise, for sharing that. And since we're talking about the culture sector, you've kind of like touched a little bit on how you were able to move into that area. So we'll come back to that in a while, just in a few minutes. So we'll go to Liz and to Dimere, and then I'll come back to you on that step that you took to USP and your contribution in the culture sector. Vinaka vakalevu, Dr. Elise. So now we're going to go to Elizabeth Edwards. If you can just introduce yourself to us, Elizabeth, where you were raised and the school you went to and what you're doing right now. You still muted, Liz. Okay.
Better now? Yeah. In Kaile, Levu, I was raised by my grandmother, Nambuli, Rika. She was a simple a woman with values. One sibling, she's a female, and I went to St. Anne's on all-girls school, and then I went to St. Joseph's Secondary. But then I furthered my studies in film, media, and journalism, and I think it works well across the board. That now I'm working in the culture sector, and but apart from that, I'm also pursuing further studies in Pacific Studies at USP. And I was introduced into the culture sector through Meretui Ratunabuabua, but my maternal links, it's linked right up to Nambuli, where I have my grandfather who was a choreographer, a dancer, and I'm also linked with Naumanor Singatale. So I guess it's already in the bloodline. And my family is full of culture. Butandraka, and our passion and our love for our culture and our traditions. I was always brought up and raised by my grandmother, being taken to the villages, doing the things. So yeah, it's in the blood, and it's exciting being in this field.
So Vinaka Sara Liz, and thanks to Tau Meretui for opening that door for you to enter and serve in these spaces. So Vinaka Sara Liz for sharing your family background, and as you said, it's already in the blood. So you know, it's kind of just expected that somewhere down the line you'll end up in this space.
Yeah.
So you are here. So well done, Vinaka Liz, for all that you do for the sector through the Department of Culture and Heritage, the Fiji Arts Council, and at the Fiji Museum. It's really lovely to see all the different programs and projects that you do. Vinaka Liz, we'll come back to you for you to just expand a little bit more on what you're doing. Now we'll go to Tau Ndimere. Tau, can you hear me? So hope you can hear me. Yeah? Tau,
Thank you. Tau, is it my turn? No, I hope. So if you hear, I'll just share on my background a bit.
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'm from Huno, Nandi, and my battle maternal son. So from West and West Fiji. I really I was able to have education in youth learning. After education, I came back to Fiji, to school of print and graphic design, started school and in government, and started the formation with a couple of the to start the American Arts, and in the since 2002, I can send a message say you're being same reaction get for everybody else. So I'm sorry you can't even see now, but that's background and how I started in the sector. The window for a better picture. Yes, I'll stand at the window and yeah, try to communicate. Reception is pretty bad, and we're just on the phone trying to get through this evening. Sorry about that.
Oh, you are breaking there. We are just hearing like 1/4 of what you're saying. But you look beautiful, by the way. So, Liz, were you saying that if she can use her phone, would the phone work better? Yeah, we would love to hear. We could hear like little bits of what you are trying to say. Connection. Yeah, so it's your connection. Is it Digicel or Vodafone? I should call the CEO to get it fixed. Yeah, so Tau will come back to you, and I'll go to Elise now to continue the Talanoa, and maybe Liz, if you can just call Tau Ndimere and see if she can use the phone. Is that okay? Okay, all right, so Liz will call you. Okay, so we'll go back to Dr. Elise Huffer. So Dr. Elise, you mentioned about you working in New Caledonia. What were you doing there?
So I had a research grant. There's a research institute called the Institute for Research and Development, which had a different name back in the late 80s when I was doing my PhD. And I was very lucky to have had a research grant for 2 years, which enabled me to do my research for my PhD. The other thing I actually forgot, what I forgot to say earlier too is that my mother's a painter, artist, painter. So I've always been, you know, in an arts environment since I was a small child, and always went to museums, galleries, exhibits, and all of that. So, but never really thought it would become my, you know, my area of work.
Wow. And when you were growing up in New York and, you know, going to school, did you have like a dream career that you kind of dream of when you were a little girl? Or was there something like a work you kind of like, I want to be like this? Was there something you had when you were little?
So, Teresa, I actually grew up in Paris.
Oh,
All I wanted was to be outside in the forest and running around and having fun. I was an okay student at school, but I just loved the outdoors, really. That was more of my passion, and I don't think I really, as a child, I had any particular, you know, ambition. In a way, I just sort of fell into things on my life, and you know, I was lucky, but also I do work pretty hard. So at what I do, so whatever I'm doing, I try to work hard.
wow, that's amazing. And for your PhD, you mentioned it a little bit earlier. You were breaking a little bit when you were explaining your PhD. Would you like to explain it a little bit more? What was the topic you chose for your PhD, Dr. Elise?
So all of my studies I did in the field of political science and international relations. So my undergraduate, I went to UCLA, and then I did all my postgrad in the French because it's very inexpensive. So I'm going to school in the US, and mine is Fiji, Tonga, and Vanuatu. And what I found really interesting is that each country had a strategy for how it presented itself to the world. And so that's what interested me was how each of those countries projected itself, you know, regionally and globally.
Wow, that's amazing. And so that research of yours would have paved the way for you to go to regional institutions like USP and SPC. But let's go first to USP. What opportunity presented itself to you at USP, Dr. Elise?
So actually,
Okay, you're breaking off again there. Yeah.
Because there was
Yeah. So Bula Vinaka, to our listeners, I think Dr. Elise's internet is kind of cutting in and out. So she'll be joining us shortly. So Bula Vinaka to everybody. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who just joined us, we are talking to three women who are working in the culture sector in Fiji. And since this is a month of, it's a Women's History Month and International Women's Day, it was a wonderful privilege to invite women from different fields of work So this is a good opportunity for women in the field of culture to come in and just share their story. So let's hope the internet is going to work smoothly, because they have such beautiful stories to share. But for some reason today, it's not working for their benefit for some reason. I don't know. Maybe Elizabeth should have prayed harder. Elizabeth?
Oh my gosh. Why today when it's the culture day?
Yeah. So not a problem. So Vinaka Dr. Elise for sharing with us. So what Dr. Elise was saying, her area of study was into political science and international relations. So she did her work in Fiji, Tonga, and Vanuatu. So it's really nice to see that her love for the Pacific, brought her here from France, and she was here in 1985 at the Festival of Pacific Arts in Tahiti. And little did she know that her presence in Tahiti in 1985 would have been the stepping stone for her, coming in and living and working in the Pacific. So here she is. So hopefully her internet will be better after this, because she was having some internet issues during the whole day. So we are even lucky she's sitting here with us. So Dr. Elise, I'll come back to you after this. So now let's go back to Rewa, to Elizabeth. So Elizabeth, now that you are working in the culture sector, and with Andy Mere opening that job opportunity for you, how have you been finding working in the sector, Elizabeth?
Oh, it's dynamic, and for me, it personally requires a lot of creativity. You've got to be creative, coming up with your concepts. It's already there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. You just add to the wheel and it becomes colorful and dynamic. And I think the other bit to it, that the other component that I bring into it is the writing bit. And I said, I really think that sector needs a bit more for us here in the Pacific, that we need to capitalize on that, and we need to move into those spaces in order to create projects and to get funding in for the different types of projects that you'd like to execute or take into the communities. And I'm also working for Fiji Arts Council as a project coordinator. I'm secretary to Blue Shield Pacifica for the protection of GLAM, galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, and also for Ecomos Pacifica. And I think we need more writers in the Pacific. And my message to the future generations that are here, I mean, like, if you're a writer, like, you should come into the culture sector. It's exciting. It's you're dealing with heritage custodians. You're dealing with things that we need to preserve, we need to safeguard for the next generation, and also the different types of contemporary that we have, whether it's in music, dance, jewelry, products that we make. So I think sometimes you can say you're just born for it, and it's beautiful, especially when you're dealing with the Pacific.
So Vinaka vakalevu. Yes, I've noticed a lot of the workshops that you are doing through Fiji Arts Council, and even in the Department of Culture and Heritage. What project are you doing right now? They all look exciting.
Yeah, we're just like multitasking, doing this one, and then you have to jump onto that one. So even though we experience in a way, it was in a disguise. It was recovery funds that was given over to Fiji through the Fiji Arts Council. There was the UNDP mineral project. We managed to build 5 cooking houses, the Lamawai salt makers, the potters here in Singatoka, Lawai, Nakambuta, Nayawa village, and then also for Rewa. Can't forget Rewa, for Nasilai, Ortona Tulituli, Nasilai, Ortona Tukeni Moli, and connecting the stories, connecting the dots, and then creating it. It's like you're taking the old and you're fusing it into the new, but then you're making it exciting with the stories that it tells. So it doesn't become boring. But it's something that it's part of our heritage that we need to keep and share it to the next generation.
That's interesting. Yeah, I like that phrase you use. You are connecting the old and the new. So connecting the old and the new, what has been the response so far, particularly from the younger generation? What is happening there when you go to this community, Nanronga and Rewa, for example?
The message I get from the communities is that the younger generation are not interested, whether we deal with ICH, so the intangible culture heritage, the food, how it's preserved, whether it's before or during a disaster, the things that the younger generation need to know, the science in nature. And so what I seem to, I realize that our kids and our children now are very savvy. They like digital spaces, digital spaces, and make this information available using video or even interviews, like putting it out there. If no, our children will just go on these TikToks and all these different things, but we can go on TikTok too. We have to create those spaces and jump on. And it's even gone to online marketing. Yes, we have to go to online marketing too at the same time.
Wow, that's interesting. Interesting you mentioned TikTok. We see a lot of young, young ones in Fiji using TikTok. Maybe, this opportunity for, short TikTok films that can be used for the salt houses in Lomawai or the tuli-tuli in Nakambuta or tuli-tuli in Rewa. Do you think that might be the way forward, Lizzie, to involve the young ones or make it interesting for them?
Yeah, this is the way forward.
Wow. Nice.
We
Wow,
need
very interesting.
to start digitizing things. We need to go to the digital space. That is the way forward for us in the culture sector, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
So even the marketing of things, because even though we built these houses for our potters, the biggest question they asked us is, how are you going to market us now? Because when we experienced COVID, it was like a total lockdown. So they can be making and creating, but then they need to sell it. There's no tourists or things like that. So we need to give them new ideas and fresh ideas of where else we can take them.
Vinaka Elizabeth for highlighting those interesting points involving the young ones, but then also the marketing. So you are generating economic activity, on the ground in these villages. But how do we go the next step? Wow, Vinaka vakalevu. I'm glad we're having this conversation, Kai, because there are people listening in this Talano session who may have experience in digital marketing and online support for artists. So if you're listening in and you are an expert in this field, please get in touch with Elizabeth and also with Dr. Elise Huffer and Dimere, because we need your expertise. We need other people in other ministries to help the Department of Culture and Heritage, to help our artists and those who are in the villages, who are still maintaining the cultural traditions of the past. Please, Vinaka Elizabeth for sharing those experiences with us. Now we'll go to Dimere. I hope her computer is working now. Tao, would you like to try one more time?
Nakatao, came in now. Or am I still breaking up? You can hear me?
Oh, it's sounding better. Better than before.
It doesn't like you can hear me?
Yeah, it keeps kind of breaking just when you're about to finish your sentence.
Much better. Okay. So just to add to what okay. So I'll just add to what Elizabeth was saying. One of the initiatives that during the pandemic that we worked on with one group here is the Association of Visual Artists from Fiji, and the artists they're asking for a national art, which is slow coming. It is almost there, but no temple. And then they didn't have any market, art or their products. So the board was about revamped or revitalized, came up with, okay, let's try and market on Facebook and just see what the response is, with no commission, but to hit out to the market and let the artist deal direct with the buyers. And the role of the board, the Association of Visual Artists, just to facilitate the process. And they did well with the sales. In days were short sales, and did very well, raising a couple of thousand or so for the artists from nothing, just from a prudent group coming together and using their skills. We were able to market out to Fiji, the world, using Facebook and marketing. So it's definitely the way to go with our marketing. And I just wanted to mention Elizabeth too, that we've got a living treasure here in Nandi in agriculture that should report. Is it 8 years old, and that's down to the youth, because the youth, we need to learn from the elders, their experiences. Could you hear that, Tal?
Yes, we could hear some of the points you mentioned, the use of Facebook to direct to the buyers. That was an interesting point you mentioned, that connects to what Liz was saying, and facilitating the sales, also using social media as a platform, which is really awesome. So I think Liz can take a page from that, particularly for artists in Rewa and Nanronga. And you also mentioned someone who is a living treasure. I wasn't sure, how old is he, Tao? Living treasure in Nandi. You were talking about the transmission of knowledge, from the older generation.
87.
87. Wow. Sandina.
Yeah. He's in agriculture sector, but there were several I were going on. Wow, we need to record this guy. And even people from the farmers network said, oh yes, if we don't record him, he's going to take all with him.
Wow.
If anything should happen, so to record and document. So when the team from the arts will come, they'll bring their cameras and organise to get him recorded. Yeah, and there are more in the community that they need to and on the intergeneration transmission.
Yes, intergenerational transmission of knowledge, right? Vinaka vakalevu. Thank you, Tao, for sharing that, because I think that's an important thing. If young ones are listening in, as what Liz was saying, this is a really cool sector to work in. Liz has mentioned, it's fun. If you can write, if you love adventure, if you love the history, if you love the past, then this can be a place where you can come and utilize your skills. And you also get to travel. You get to travel around the world and see places that you haven't seen before. Maybe just read it in the National Geographic or watch it on travel TV shows. But if you come to this field, you can be able to go and see the world. Yeah. So Vinaka vakalevu Tao for sharing that. So there's a living treasure. So we use the word living treasure, which is also used by UNESCO, recognizing our older generations who are still alive now. Most are in their 80s, and they have the knowledge that they've acquired over so many years, so many decades. So it's really nice to connect that and share their knowledge to the younger generation. So we need young people. Young people who are listening in, make sure you let us know, contact Liz, Dimere or Dr. Elise, and the Fiji Museum is there. They're also doing such a wonderful job with our young interns who are doing such a wonderful work in the community and the museum. So there's still lots to be done, but let's start now, right? Particularly those who are looking for work or work experience or want to volunteer, come and join us in this field. Vinaka for sharing that. Now we're going to go back to Elise. I hope internet is okay. Dr. Elise, you...
Well, I'm sitting outside with the mosquitoes. And I've shut my camera off, so hopefully it'll be okay.
Yeah. Vinaka, Dr. Elise. So maybe what I was thinking of, if you have any advice, for young up and coming, maybe artists or someone who is in the field of arts who want to, find work in this sector, or who is in the creative industry, what would you say to them?
Well, it's not an easy sector to work in if you're looking to, to make money or have a steady job, that sort of thing, because and that's not specific to Fiji or to the Pacific region. That's sort of the nature of the creative and cultural industries worldwide. This said, most people who want to join that sector, at least as artists or creatives, have a passion for it. So it's really more about the expression, being able to express their art or their thinking and all of that. So I think the artists and creatives now, we're building up associations in the handcraft sector. Fiji Arts Council is doing a lot of work, so there are opportunities through the associations. And what Dimere was saying earlier, although she was breaking up a bit, was the Visual Arts Association of Fiji, VAVA, organized an online exhibit enabling a lot of artists to showcase, and it was very successful, and I think they have a second one planned. So having associations is really helpful to bringing in new emerging artists. And I think progressively the culture sector is getting more interest from other sectors and from government, but it's it's not an easy sector to work in, and you have to be independent and willing to use your talents and your creativity even in other sectors. So you can be a visual artist or a graphic designer and work with other companies, but you're still at heart somebody who's a creative. So but I always think, just to use an American term, just go for it. You really need to, don't hold back. A lot of times children or young people are thought to not be worthy if what they do at school, for instance, is doodle or draw or do that sort of thing. But so it's a bit undervalued. But if you're good at that, just pursue it. Keep going. There's room and there's space for everyone. And now with the digital space, you can show your work directly to the world. There's platforms that for one, there's one called, I think, Patron. I can't remember exactly the name, but some of the artists in Fiji were using that and had patrons from overseas who were paying to help them create, to help them showcase their work. So there's all kinds of solutions out there. So if you're, and especially if you're digital savvy, which a lot of our young people are, there's lots of opportunities out there for them.
Wow, Vinaka Dr. Elise, for that advice. You're absolutely right. It's an exciting field to be in, but not easy to get in. But once you're in, I'm sure you'll, have fun and make those connections. Yeah, is what you said. That is really true. And also participating and being members of these associations. I know with VAVA, Visual Arts, organization that Dimere has been very influential in helping set up. So it's really nice to see these organizations springing up and helping our artists too. I really like your advice there. Just go for it. Yeah, just go for it. Just be brave and just take that step and just see what's going to happen. So Vinaka vakalevu sir, Dr. Elise, for your advice, as well as using digital spaces. That's a good takeaway as well, for our young up and coming artists or cultural warriors, if I can call them that. Vinaka vakalevu sir, Dr. Elise. Elizabeth, what would you like to add to that, or any advice to our young ones coming up?
My advice to the young generation, to the upcoming generation, is we're all born with a gift. That's a God-given gift that's already embedded inside of you. You just need to tap into that gift. You need to if you have the passion, because like having an 8 to 5 job and coming and get paid. Really, I think for the culture sector, like I work with a great colleague, she's in her 60s. It's about passion. If you really love, or you start to push you further, and see those gifts already automatic, it's already inside of you. You just have to tap in, and don't be afraid. Like go for it. Thank you, Elise.
Wow, Elise. Yeah, so there you go. I really like the word you used, Elise, the gift. So everyone has that gift, and even for us in Fiji, we have those of us who have indigenous background, as it's okay. We are born into these families. Either we are Matesau or Matanivanua, Ngonendau, Bati. So all these gifts that has been there for millenniums, given to us. We just have to be aware of it, and acknowledge it.
Generation.
God, wow. There you go. Liz for that. For empowering our young ones in particular, just to be aware and be ready to accept the fact that yes, we do have gifts, but utilize it, recognize it, and you can use it as wonderful way to earn a living in this day and age. So let's go back to Anditau, Mere. So let's test your microphone one more time. For those of, we have some young ones listening in. I'll just name a few. You have some fans. We have Susie Shaw logging in from Levuka, Bolivinaka Kai. So she's passing her warm greetings to us, Susie Dimere. Who else is here? Bulosa Lote na Walwalo, listing into Vinakvalim Bulosa Lote. Also, we've got, I think Letila Mitchell was listening in earlier on. And there's a few other names that I can see. Yes, Vinaka vakalevu sir for joining in and listening to these three women who have contributed so much into the sector in different ways. Dimere has been there for so many years, and also for Dr. Elise has been there for so many years too. I think I was still in high school. No, just kidding. Oh yeah, Elizabeth is putting her hand up. So Elizabeth too was still in high school, but it's just so nice, yet for us as young people to be sitting next to these amazing women with so much experience, and they're still here. Taundi Mere, any advice you would like to share to our young ones listening in?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. I think the example the other day, my own daughter, Mele, and Joe, her husband, they are like sole traders, and they started from scratch with a loan of $30 screen printing, and it chose a niche market, something that, you know, product nobody else is doing, because often you find that people tend to copycat or, you know, follow somebody else. Somebody starts a business off and they do the same thing. But what they did is they just sort of customized things for weddings. And during the time of the pandemic, they were turning people away where everybody else had lost their jobs. They were turning people away because they wanted their banners done for their funerals. They wanted banners done for weddings. They wanted banners done for, you know, so many things, and even for quilt covers and the other products that they chose. So, you know, and you've got a niche market. People will come for you if it's, you know, they're popular. So, you know, what we were trying to do with Elise and others in the regional level was trying to secure scholarships for the artists and performers and the arts, so that people can go on to the next level, have exposure, and see how things are done. But if you're creative and innovative, you can either go along that path, or you can work your way up through practical knowledge and skills. So that's what Mele and Joe did. And I was saying to you, they have a niche market that not many other people are doing, and it's very popular. So they're never out of business. You know, even if they were trying to close the door for the pandemic, Mele didn't want people to come around because of the children, but they were still knocking on their doors. So there's lots of opportunities, but it's really choosing your talent and your skills and focusing and going for it. And you can either do it through the formal sector, getting qualifications and moving along that, or hands-on practical knowledge and skills, and with a good support networks and well, like we say with Mele, with the family connections, those people around that can help. So there are different ways of, say, for the artists to get into the field. And Lizzie and I have been working on Ecomos Pacifica and Blue Shield Pacifica, looking at buildings and monuments and sites. And it hasn't been easy because we're trying to get others to come on board. So we'd like to see more youth membership. So if people are interested, can probably contact Elizabeth or myself to join Ecomos Pacifica or Blue Shield Pacifica, and that's for galleries, libraries, archives, and museums, and through the culture sector for those monuments and sites in times of natural and human-made disasters. So, and right, for example, have the crisis in Ukraine, and so Blue Shield is an NGO, an independent NGO that is looking to save the cultural artifacts of the people. That it remains the property for all humanity. So it's not just for the Ukrainian people, but for everybody. To give you an example, so there's different levels and different art forms, and as I said, the one areas that we really need to build up on is with Ecos Pacifica and Blue Shield Pacifica. PIMA is well established, the Pacific Art Museum Association. Again, we'd like to have more youth involvement. We've been through a couple of art festivals and tried to recruit, but we really need more people coming in, whether you're a graduate or just people who are interested in helping and to help with the administration and getting the word out and networking. That's important. So there's opportunities. I know some of our youth volunteers have travelled. I think Tuli went to Vanuatu, and Lizzie's been all over the place and all over the world, representing the culture sector. So there's lots of opportunities. I think that.
So, Vinaka vakalevu saratawi, absolutely true. With your
lots of opportunities, and it's what you make of it.
Yeah, I really like the topic you mentioned about scholarships. Where are the scholarships you were mentioning? Scholarships that are available in the region. Would you like to share a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Sometimes, say for you've had the Australian aid, New Zealand aid, British aid, have scholarships where you go, in the past where you go overseas and you can be in the country, site in the country, and they will support your fares and accommodation. Depends on the scholarship. So it's quite a. Sometimes they want your portfolio to see your work, or sometimes they want to know what your background is. So, for example, on a New Zealand scholarship for 3.5 years, and so I studied the Maori language and everything about Maori arts and that. So to look at it, to look at the arts with the different lens was very interesting. You know, like I mean, I had the British background, and then to go and look at the way the Maori study their art and their language and culture, and how they integrate it with their tangible and intangible knowledge and skills is very interesting. And there's also the Australian aid scholarships. They're all about 3 years or 4 years in duration for undergraduate. Excuse me. And USP is also has scholarships. And they were also supporting artists with the Red Wave Centre. I believe it's open again with Dr. Larry Thomas coming back in. But I'm not sure whether how the scholarships are going, but that's an opportunity. And then of course we have University of Hawaii. There probably are scholarships available, maybe in a postgraduate or undergraduate, maybe more on maybe on the Hawaiian culture, language and knowledge, but also the arts. And then there's even New Caledonia. They're changed and they've been off to France and off to France to bought the artifacts back from the museums and everything when they've been out as part of their field work. So that's been interesting. But yeah, so scholarships is really good because it gives you a good base to start with and to a step up the ladder, if you like. But it just gives you more exposure and it's good to have that qualification in your pocket. And we want to see more, the knowledge and the skills be promoted and highlighted. So yeah, the more that's what we found was one of the gaps was there wasn't enough people who have degrees or masters or postgraduate. That's the area that we really need to work on for the Pacific, not just Fiji, but all over the Pacific. And with the small Department of Heritage and Arts Culture, you often find there's only 2 or 3 people and nobody else is going in there because they're not qualified or they don't know what the sector's about. So the sector will always struggle because you haven't got the right people in the sector. But if you have people with more of the backgrounds, it's easier to follow. Or to retain those people when they come back from their studies in the field would be great. Can't think of any more. And I think also USA had scholarships as well. Yeah.
Yes.
And then Miri from FNU went to the USA. Yeah.
Wow. Vinaka besar tahu di Mere. Definitely, for those of you listening in, yeah, scholarships, they are available. You just have to be proactive and just look. Now many, even on social media platforms, there's so many scholarships that are promoted via the social media platforms. So be on the lookout, and if you see anything is of interest, apply. Yeah, so you never know. Just put your name down and just apply. Elizabeth, anything you would like to add to what Tony Mary just talked about in terms of scholarship opportunities and training overseas?
Yeah, that's so true what Dimere had mentioned. We need people in the fields with the proper qualifications. Even for artists that exhibit, we don't have qualified curators that are local Fijians here in Fiji. We don't have that. There is a lot of gaps that is here in Fiji that need support in scholarship. Locally or internationally, and we need to follow with the passion that are interested to do these courses and do these studies in order to add more to what is already existing, because we cannot just leave it at one level. It needs to, it's evolving, it moves.
Yeah.
It doesn't stay still, it moves. So we need to move, and that's very important.
Yes, Saranga. That's true. Yeah, vakalevu.
So I think the youth that are listening in, they can go for that.
I also wanted to add, if you don't mind.
Yes, go for it. Go, Elise.
So I think there's a lot of different levels. There's some areas in the culture sector that are very technical. You know, like what Liz was saying about curation, you know, museum studies, and then you know, a range of other things like cultural statistics, heritage law. There's a lot of very technical areas that definitely we have gaps in the region. But I also think you know, you can come from another field if you have qualifications and you're motivated and you're interested. You don't necessarily have to have done studies in the culture sector to work in the culture sector. I mean, I just, you know, based on my own background, I would never have thought I would be working in the culture sector. But having a sort of broad background, even if you've studied law, or if you've studied political science or sociology or anthropology or environmental studies, I think you can work in the culture sector, and you learn. You know, what Di Mere was saying is also a lot about learning on the job. And if you read and you talk to people and you know, get informed, I think you can come from any other sector and work in the culture sector. But when it comes to the very technical aspects of culture, yes, you do need very specific skill sets. And I think those are available in sort of short course formats. But I guess it's really about finding those opportunities for young people and saying, you know, there's an opportunity to do a master class in curation, you know, are you interested? And I think I just coming back to the associations, for me, one of the role of the associations is to look for those opportunities for the younger members who can be, say you're a visual artist, but you want to also do curation. And you know, that's another skill that you have. I think it's really important for the associations to be looking out for those opportunities and using and drawing on funding, you know, available funding sources to be able to send their members so that we can build up the skill set. You know, whether it's curation, whether it's music production, whether it's you know, how to write songs, or, you know, there's a whole load of areas that can be that can be learned through short courses, or honed through short courses. And I think we need to be really looking out for those, as well as scholarships of the type that Di Mere was talking about, which are more specialized. You know, fine arts or graphic arts, or you know, or Bachelor of Arts in Museum Studies, that sort of thing. Naka.
Wow, Vinaka vakalevu Sarah, Dr. Elise for adding into what the Mary and Elizabeth has shared earlier. So there's different levels, different types of skills that are needed, and really acknowledging the short courses that has been offered, the workshops and all this professional development opportunities that are given to artists. So it's really wonderful to see also the importance of collaboration. So departments or organizations need to work together, especially in this day and age, especially also during this COVID pandemic that we're living through. Vinaka vakalevu Sarah for adding those important points in here. Dr. Elise, when you were talking to one of the points that came to mind, like you mentioned about heritage laws, heritage laws and also cultural statistics. So to those who are listening in, you can hear that there are all these possibilities in the culture sector. So you may be working in maybe the Trade and Commerce Ministry, or you may have some other law background, legally trained, but we need your services in the heritage sector. So if you are interested to come and support these organizations or the association like WAVA, please make sure you contact us or find them on the Facebook page and offer your service. But one thing that came to mind to Dr. Elise, which is something that is important in the culture sector, is the issue of intellectual property rights, which are really, really big issues, not only just for Fiji, but also regionally and globally, particularly when information are taken. Doesn't have to be just indigenous knowledge. It can be any, someone's idea, someone's song, someone's design, someone's pattern has been taken without the consent of the owner. I often get asked a lot about this, and then linked to IP or intellectual property theft, maybe if I can say it, is the legislation that goes along with it. Sometimes people say that the legislation in the arts sector are not as strong as they should be. Dr. Elise, what would you say to that with your experience in working in the region?
Yeah, definitely we're very weak on legislation, not just in intellectual property or cultural intellectual property area, but more generally in the culture sector as a whole. And we have very few lawyers in the region who have an interest in that. We're lucky we have one in Fiji that we've been working with for a long time, who's great, but we definitely need to have more. And there is an opportunity for that, because the World Intellectual Property Office has usually a fellowship for Indigenous fellow every year or every 18 months. And in fact, the lawyer that I'm referring to did a stint at WIPO some years back, and so he's really skilled now in cultural intellectual property areas, which is really helpful for us as a region. But we definitely need more of those. We need more people in the legal area, so lawyers or people with an interest in law to be able to focus more on culture, because there's a lot of gaps, and one of them is cultural intellectual property. But that's a very complicated area, as you well know. And legislation is one answer, but it's definitely not the only answer. And they're difficult. It's a difficult area to prosecute. So there's other ways to sort of try to get around it. But yeah, it's definitely a big gap area for us in the region.
So Vinaka vakalevu for highlighting that. And I think that's something to, openly say tonight. There is opportunities, as what our ladies have expressed tonight. There are definitely gaps, and I'm glad that we've identified that. So I know in Fiji, there's a lot of lawyers, many who are trained within the University of the South Pacific Vanuatu campus, and also those who are trained overseas. So we've got one lawyer who has got that speciality in that field. We need more. Yeah, we need more. So we'll make the call out now. If there are lawyers out there who are looking to specialize in some of these areas, please get in touch with Dr. Elise or Elizabeth Edwards or Andy Mere. That'll be a good stepping stone to try and look for, this future expertise that we need. It will benefit Fiji, but also benefit the region. We need you. I think that's something we're going to say. Yeah, we need you. For our legal eagles, if you're listening in or someone listening in tonight know of someone whom you can shoulder tap, please. This is an area that we really need help with, intellectual property right, as well as the strengthening of our legislations. We do have legislation in many countries, but we need strengthening, as well as community outreach, informing our local communities that they should know their rights, that nobody can just come in and take their music, nobody can just come in and take the designs of their masi or their tapa, or just come and interview them today, and then they take the knowledge with them without any compensation. So definitely Dr. Elise, Meretui Ratunabuabua, and Elizabeth Edwards, I think this is the beginning of many Talano sessions that we should have, because this is just the beginning. And you all have highlighted some amazing points today. One is just what Elise has just talked about. Mere has talked about scholarship and training opportunities, and Elizabeth Edwards highlighted the involvement of youths. Yeah, we really need young people to join us in this journey. Wow. Vinaka vakalevu to all three beautiful ladies. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your busy schedule. So I will go around the room one more time. So we will go to our princess from Vunamoli, Andy Mere. I will pass the microphone back to you to say a few words of encouragement to our listeners. Nakatao.
Vinaka, Tao, I hope you can hear me. Hear me. Thank you, thank you. Words of encouragement. The world is your oyster, and what you do, what you make of the field that you're in is well, they will say your attitude is your altitude, I'd say. So yeah, having respect for your elders and learning from those who have this knowledge, and networking, talking to other people who may be gifted in areas, learning from them. So yeah, very simply. And if you're young and starting out, have your career plans or 10-year career plan. What's plan A? What's plan B? What's plan C? And work your way up to your career goals. So yeah, just words of encouragement. There's lots of opportunities, as we mentioned, and how you get it is really your motivation. And if you've got a plan, then try that 10-year plan and those different ways to get there. Naka.
Again, we want to thank you for all the amazing work you've done over the years. We've seen the heritage sector and the culture sector blossoming, with all your contribution and the work you have done. So from all of us, we want to say Vinaka vakalevu to you, Tau, for all the work you've done. Even though you've retired, I still see you doing all this community work. So I know the culture sector won't leave you. Yeah, we need more of Meretui Ratunabuabua. I wish I had a cloning machine that I can clone so many more of the Mere in different parts of the world. So, you know, she's a mover and shaker, and we know that she has contributed so much to the culture sector of Fiji and the region. And not only just the Pacific, she's also done a lot of work in other regions of the world. So, Vinaka vakalevu tau for all that you do. So now we're going to go to the province of Rewa, to Elizabeth Edwards. What would be your message and the word of encouragement to our listeners?
My message would be use the potentials that you have and use the gifts that you have and maximize on it. So in whatever areas, you got to maximize it. And once you maximize it, you're not only using it for yourself, but using it for the multitude. And you'll expand. Trust me, you will. So I believe our gifts are not only for ourselves, but also for others. And once you start using those gifts and your potentials, you'll just maximize. And it'll, even if you're volunteering, don't think that volunteering, oh, you won't get any money or something, but you're learning something at the same time. So
Vinaka vakalevu.
And my message to the Fiji generation, is a beautiful space and it's not boring. It's beautiful. Naka.
Yes, definitely. Yes, the culture sector is not boring. It is exciting. It's full of exciting people, and you know, you have fun. You'll have fun. It's all in the mind, is what Tonti Mary was saying. You know, it's all to do with your attitude on how you view things. If you want to have fun in the sector, you will have fun, because there's lots of things to learn, learning from older ones and inspiring the younger generation. Okay, Vinaka vakalevu Sarah, Elizabeth, for all that you do as well with all the workshops and the grant writing that you've been doing. And looks like you've been getting lots of funding. So I might knock on your door to see if you can fund some of my projects too. Vinaka, Elise? Vinaka vakalevu. And now we're going to go over to Pacific Harbour to Dr. Elise Huffer. Last word from you, Dr. Elise, on any encouraging thought you want to leave to our listeners. Vinaka, Dr. Elise.
Naka, Dr. Tarisi. I just wanted to sort of pick up on what Liz was saying, is that, you know, about people having talents and ideas and skills, and, you know, however they've obtained those, to make, you know, good use of them. I also wanted to say that the culture sector is actually a really, really rich sector in terms of the diversity of the type of work you can do. So, you know, it goes from museums to cultural industries, to digital production, film, dance, visual arts, and as well culture within development, you know, or culture within conservation, or culture within climate change. There's all kinds of areas that you can work in culture and bring your expertise to other sectors. What I often find is that the other sectors don't know how to integrate or work with culture. And so there's a whole field out there for young people to be able to come into, because whether it's in conservation, development, displacement of people, all of that, they all need advice on all the cultural dimensions of those areas, and to develop those tools and guidelines and advice. And so there's a whole world out there of different areas in culture that young people can go into. So I would encourage young people to start thinking about those areas, you know, beyond what we usually think of as the culture sector, because I think in the coming 10, 20 years, that field is going to open right up, because we see that the development models in the world and across even within our region need to be rethought. and change to really integrate people's indigenous and traditional knowledge, practices, cultural expressions, and bring all that into other policy fields. So I think that's there's some good openings there in the next 10 to 20 years. At least I hope so.
Wow, Vinaka vakalevu for those words of encouragement. Yeah, definitely. So within the 10 to 20 years, that will really fit in well with many of our young people today. Some were still at uni, some were still leaving high school. A huge potential for them to find job opportunities within the culture sector. Wow, Vinaka vakalevu to all you three beautiful ladies. Vavini Vinaka Sara vakalevu kemundo, vakayandundua Sara on behalf of our listeners tonight. Despite the hiccups with the technology, I think we managed to get our message across, and lovely to see the sharing from all of you. Vinaka vakalevu taundimere for connecting in from Nandi, and also for you, Lizzie. We know that you're doing your workshop in Korotongo, but you still managed to leave the Tanoa outside to come in to talk to me. So I'm sure you will enjoy the rest of the bowl over there. And also, Elise, I hope the mosquitoes are not biting your legs. And those beautiful legs, if I can say. Vinaka, Elise.
Naka Dr. Teresi.
Because I know you play rugby, so you're very fit. So maybe chase those mosquitoes away. And Vinaka vakalevu Sara for joining in. I really appreciate you all agreeing to come and Talanoa today. As I was saying before, this is the first of many. I hope you wouldn't mind down the line if I invite you all again to continue from some of the interesting topics you've highlighted. And that can be awesome to do down the line. Vinaka vakalevu Sara, and I bid you all good night. Vakamware vikemdo, and you all take care.
Naka Morimanda.
Naka Mother Lizzie, and Mother Dimere. Yes, Naka valeu. Thank you so much. Naka ahui ho, Mother. Naka valeu. Yes, thank you. Naka tau.
Night,
Take care.
everybody.
Naka. Naka is for those of you listening in, we just wanted to say thank you to you all for joining me today. What an awesome evening. We were able to listen to these three very experienced ladies, women, very much. They help the practitioners out there, helping the artists. As they said, there's still more help needed in the culture sector. For those of you who have experience in law, as well as those who are in youth programs, if you want to come and join the culture sector, there's openings for you. And also for those of you needing training, there are specialized scholarships that are available. So you just have to be out there and be proactive to access those training opportunities that come your way. Vinaka vakalevu Sara, na vakarorongo tikumai. Thank you so much for your support, and we're so appreciative of you all joining in, joining Meretui Ratunabuabua, also Elizabeth Edwards and Dr. Elise Huffer. Thank you so much. You all take care, and I will see you all tomorrow. Vinaka vakalevu, nisama demanda.